Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Asif Ali Sayed from the Department of Business Administration, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. Today, we shall be discussing about the module International Entrepreneurship of the paper Skill Development and Social Entrepreneurship. By the end of this module, students will be able to understand the meaning of international entrepreneurship, scope of international entrepreneurships. Introduction to International Entrepreneurship. International entrepreneurship involves business that transpires through borders into multiple countries. Entrepreneurship or the creation of the new economic activity includes new venture creation activities by starters or new economic activities of established firms. It is often assumed that entrepreneurship and cross-border entrepreneurship in particular contributes to value or wealth creation both at the firm level and at the economy-wide level. We are talking about international entrepreneurship because we are into an era of globalization. It is about opportunity to go global in production, marketing and selling, outsourcing or anything that can be called a business opportunity. An entrepreneur is one who catches these opportunities firstly by recognizing one, and then he goes on to gather resources to actually implement these ideals into real businesses. The term international entrepreneurship was introduced around 1988 to connote new untapped foreign markets. Morrow 1988. McDouglas defines it as international new ventures or startups that from their inception engage in international businesses, thus viewing their operating domain as international from the initial stages of the firm's operation. McDougall and Oviatt gave a broader definition of international entrepreneurship, presenting it as a combination of innovative processes, proactive and risk-seeking behavior that crosses or is compared across national borders and is intended to create value in business organizations. Talking of international entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship boom in India, experts suggest that going global and going international are totally different. Going global is like an ambitious state of mind with right attitude and desire to do so, whereas becoming international historically means an export trade from India. It would simply imply an opportunistic tapping of available foreign markets that doesn't necessitate high degrees of competitive advantage and specialization. It means that a global presence does not make you a global organization. These advantages are short-lived and limited growth opportunities. You can probably be rebuffed. Take for example our Indian pharmaceutical industry that has one of the world's richest resources in manufacturing, research capabilities and entrepreneurship. The whole industry is based on cost competition across the value chain. They tend two main trends to grow globally. First one is international acquisitions and the second is the focus on going global as an organization. A uniform trend is followed in case of implementing management processes, manufacturing, information technology, human resources and supply chain. India's high value and highly competitive resources offer potential in the global market. Definition of international entrepreneurship. International entrepreneurship may be defined as an activity undertaken by an entrepreneur to conduct business overseas through expansion of his existing business outside his geographic border or to start a new international venture or startup created to conduct business overseas. It may include activities such as exporting, importing, licensing, opening sales office in another country. In an empirical study, Oviatt and McDougall in 1995 identified 7 characteristics of successful global startups. Inception based on a global vision, international experience for the manager, international business networks would be strength for successful ventures, preemptive technology or marketing is exploited, a unique intangible asset is present, product or services are closely linked, the organization is supported by a sound network for communication and coordination. Concept of international entrepreneurship, a researcher's perspective. We come across the concept as born global or instant internationals, traditional SMEs which enter the international field or are successful operating in foreign countries, back sourcers who integrate international expansion policy in their business but come back to the home base for stability, born regional who gain their forces out of a local base and never shift capacity beyond export activities. Born global may be defined as small technology oriented companies that operate in international market from the inception, while other researchers say that these companies are founded by technology innovations with superior product designs. These industries are highly specialized and knowledge intensive. In case of backsourcers, focus point for this sector are uncertain planning and increased international competition. Volatility of market demands drive these entrepreneurs to move away from a known game plan to find new ways for internationalization. It is like trading into new territories without much knowledge and experience of global marketing techniques and human resource policies. However, these obstacles can be overcome with a thorough networking and expansion of knowledge and expertise. Researchers have also put forward the concept of lean startups. These startups have emerged as technology-driven setups and have a focus on innovation, agility and rapid product development, which stand in contrast to the born global international businesses that have a focus on international operations, partnership, development, marketing and export. Among other researchers, we find interesting discourse on international entrepreneurship. Internationalization has been indicated as a process undertaken to effect and affect cross-border markets via exporting, licensing, partnership, joint venture, foreign direct investment or other means. Globalization is a phenomenon that integrates many domestic markets, including the company's home market, into a network of international markets. The effect is disintegration of barriers between national states to facilitate international trade, freeing up of global market economies, free flow of talent and capital, and advances in transportation, information and communication technology. These shifts have given us transnational and multinational companies and more recently metanational companies. The scholarly work most relevant to startups' early and rapid globalization have been organized into 6 literature streams, which are rapid internationalization, international new ventures, effectuation logic, global startups, gradual internationalization process models, and internationalization theory of multinational enterprise and the ownership location internationalization model. The process of early and rapid internationalization has the following structural elements which form the integral part of international entrepreneurship process. This was ascertained by studying 21 startups founded in 12 countries between 2002 to 2009. Through this study, the authors propose that there are 6 elements needed for entrepreneurs to internationalize their startups early and rapidly are as follows. The first being problem scope. A $1 million question that every entrepreneur needs to answer to is the problems question that needs to be addressed is the path to effective internationalization. Second is stakeholders' commitment to develop a novel, narrow and differentiated solution quickly. Dedicated people to develop core competencies for the new venture to cater to customers worldwide is important for internationalization. The third being collaborative entrepreneurship at a global scale. Web-based processes, transportation infrastructure and common resources are the tools that lead to successful internationalization. The fourth being relational capital. It talks of developing a mutual relation that would increase faster collaboration with individuals, companies and institutions across the globe. The fifth being legitimacy. Quality of being believable or trustworthy in the eyes of customers, partners, suppliers and investors is the road to internationalization. The sixth being global capability. Will to deliver quality services and products requires readiness to learn and adapt local and global culture changes for the purpose of customer satisfaction and developing a good working terms with the global partners would produce long-term capacity building globally. Factors affecting international entrepreneurship. Economic system. Every country has an economic framework that plays an important role in the overall development of that country and also determines the way of doing business with foreign parties. Take for example the basic differences that one can observe between the business operation framework of a country following a communist philosophy and that of another following a capitalistic philosophy. Again, we should talk of the balance that should exist between international business dealers according to the laws of international businesses. A deep understanding of the processes should necessarily be a criteria for conducting international businesses. This should include processes like currency rate, phase of business cycle, etc. The second dimension is stage of economic development. Developing countries are a hot target for international business operations for cheap labor, easy penetrable market and labor law relaxation. But it is also necessary for one to understand that politico-economic legal environment is dynamic and international business requires understanding the state of economic development of that country where one wants to or is conducting business. This should be a major concern for strategic business development. The third is cultural sensitivity. Cultural acclimatization, adaptation is a major concern for starting operations internationally. Entrepreneurs operating at national levels should understand cultural issues persistent in home country, and at international levels they have to understand and manage cultural diversity of customers as well as employees in the company. The fourth is technological environment. Technology gap is a major concern for international operations. Again, gap in terms of cost of technology in home turf and foreign turf is a factor to reckon. This may prove to be beneficial or deterrent to the business. Technological know-how and experts for handling and implementation of technology are essential parts of a successful ventures. The fifth is government policy. Political standpoint will play an important factor for the entrepreneur going in for the internationalization of his business. Take for example the case of the government policy that want foreign investors to come to the country would prove and provide avenues for smooth processes and single window clearances. A government policy to boost small businesses through Make in India would encourage entrepreneurs to export their surplus produces and bring valuable foreign currency into the country. So government policy would be a major determinant for the nature of business inside and outside the country. The sixth is political and legal environment. Politics and law play a critical role in the international business as well as domestic business. Entrepreneurs must develop politico-legal sensitivity and sensibility in order to be an acceptable player in the local and international market. A legal framework that provides for equity of law for all people within the country and a fair, unbiased approach towards all others and under its protection would encourage international business entrepreneurship within its boundary. The scope of international entrepreneurship in the Indian context. The scope of international entrepreneurship is a dynamic issue and needs researchers' attention. Contemporary researchers reflect the following. A. Shift to competitive advantage. Indian companies' overseas markets was limited to export of traditional products like tea, coffee, iron ore, leather, apparel, gems, jewelry, etc. This constituted first-level comparative advantage for Indian companies or rather traders. The recent shift is towards second-level advantage, which is availability, cost competition and competitive cost of human capital in India. Let's take the example of software companies like Infosys that primarily started foreign assignments through body shopping till the middle 1990s, but slowly moved on to overseas production and projects. Similarly is the case of pharmaceutical companies with overseas operations having bases in India. B is the leverage, the push and pull phenomena. Favorable factors favor the promotion of competitive advantage like availability of natural resources, Cheaper skills, investors and infrastructure must be in balance with the competition from international players. Product quality maintenance and customer expectations too. This balance is dedicated to push and pull conditions that any global business needs to maintain. Tata Group has a diversified business model which is a good example of this phenomenon. C. Success in international market requires proper strategy. Utilizing what we have is the mantra outsourcing phenomena in software services, business process outsourcing and pharmaceutical clinical trials on the company has made a choice to be the primarily focused on overseas opportunities. Example, Sundaram Fasteners and Bharat Forge. Internationalization strategy as followed by Jindal Iron and Steel and Bajaj Auto, they strategize this to cancel out domestic down markets with international gains. Multinationalization is the next strategy for developing a sustainable model through competitive positioning in several geographies. Case in point is that of Workhard and Asian Paint. It is a scholastic belief that internationalization and multinationalization broadly falls into a continuum and follows traditional models of overseas expansion. Outsourcing is possible because of our information and communication technologies. Strategic focus for international entrepreneurship. Differences in operational requirements of the institutional and the retail customers internationally. Corporate customer relationships are references based and does not need branding. Outsourcing is the support that these companies seek based on performance and result oriented track record references from peers and competitors for services and manufactured products as part of their value chain. In business agreements, this is most preferred mode of operations, being direct contact of the client and the corporation or firm to develop reliability, assurance of a certain comfort level and predictability for the joint venture to flourish. On the other hand, brand, local knowledge and distribution reach are important parameters for retail ventures or individual customers overseas. Thus, these forms of businesses seek marketing alliances or partnerships that can be useful in internationalization strategy. The case in this context is that of Tata and Rover for sale of cars in the UK. The alliances can be more broad-based in the multinationalization strategy as shown by the highly successful and stable Aptex China joint venture. Again, Indian companies are brand builders and can register a greater overseas presence. The second being focus on capability building and organizational development. Capacity building and organizational development can be done either around a global product and service or geographic favorability. Based on the type of operations, integration and responsiveness are unique selling points that suggest type of organizational structure as transnational, multinational or metanational. Indian companies are in very early or entry stages of overseas activities in terms of entrepreneurship with special reference to Born Global. Indian entrepreneurial ventures are internationalized companies having smaller size and simplified organizational structure for overseas operations and attached export functions. The critical role of conviction-laden leadership. Indian companies are making success stories overseas, and in every story there is the presence of a strong leader. Leadership in entrepreneurship is unique in the sense that the proprietor is the leader who has to believe in his ideas himself, be patient and bring together a team that would wholeheartedly believe in him and his ideas and be ready to lead with his own example. Case in point is that of Apollo Hospitals that started with operations in Chennai, India not very long back in 1983 and has rapidly internationalized to Bangladesh, Kuwait and Qatar. Strong conviction-laden leadership is essential for the success of Indian companies' operation in overseas markets. Scope for the future. International entrepreneurship and the Indian context have vast research dimensions and opportunities which are untapped and are waiting to be explored. Let us summarize our discussion on international entrepreneurship. International entrepreneurship involves businesses that transpire through borders into multiple countries. It is about opportunity to go global in production, marketing and selling, outsourcing or anything that can be called as a business opportunity. It may include activities such as exporting, importing, licensing, opening sales offices in another country, etc. The structural elements of international entrepreneurship towards establishing enterprises abroad involve problem scope, stakeholders' commitments to develop a novel, narrow and differentiated solution quickly, collaborating entrepreneurship at a global scale, relational capital, legitimacy and global capability. International entrepreneurship is an evolving and intriguing subject that has gripped the attention of researchers and entrepreneurs alike as a scope for further exploration and to develop entrepreneurial opportunity that till now did not get its due attention is also a motivator for more and more entrepreneurs.